Hey guys, today I'm really excited to give my first weekly update for the Hate Kickstarter. A lot has changed this week, more than I would have expected, especially for how fast, or almost lack thereof, the game is actually being backed. It's not expanding quite as big as Coleman or Not may have anticipated, but we'll get into that in a bit more detail when it becomes applicable. But for now, I'm just going to dive right in. I'm going to start with the optional buys. So they have added 3 optional buys. Every single one is $25. That's kind of nice. It's nice and consistent. You don't even necessarily have to pick now. You could just add 25 or 50 or up to $75 and then pick later on which those go towards, which is kind of cool. In fact, I would assume, hopefully, the next one is 25 as well. That'd be a nice consistent part here. So the first one is and I'm going to try and pronounce this, the Tribe of Sarrus. I think that's right. They're essentially plant people, and by far the most unique tribe to date. It includes a full tribe of 11 miniatures plus the tribe deck and upgrade cards. These guys are essentially plant zombies. Their tribe cards allow KO'd units to stand back up, shamans to attack in like an area of effect, and they can even use trees to attack their enemies if they're nearby. Each unit is naturally stronger than the other tribes. However, this tribe must win the battle in 2 rounds or they wither away and lose. So normally a clash lasts 4 rounds. They essentially have half the time to win, but they're all really, really strong. A very unique style of play. I'm assuming these are just going to be complete aggro monsters that just come at you hard and hit hard and are KOing people everywhere and, killing everybody around a tree and doing all this crazy stuff. However, if you can survive, which is really all you have to do for 2 rounds, then you win. Quite unique, and it also means that the other player will have to race if they actually want to complete their mission. So they could still win, but when you complete a mission on the scenario, you actually get rewards like resources or something like that. And you might miss out on that if the game is over within 2 rounds, because they all drop dead and wither away. Either way, these guys look super unique. The champ has a skull with like whole skeletons stuck in him on his back and shoulder. And the shaman is my favorite out of this group and just looks boss with his robe. He reminds me a little bit of like a Nazgul from the Lord of the Rings movies, but with like branches. Either way, he just a cool pose. Love the robe. I dig that whole look. The prince looks to be amazing once painted up, by the way, and is certainly the single most unique unit in the game. In my opinion, even more than the Maul, which I'll get to later. However, I worry he'll be a little top-heavy and fall over often, which would really suck. I don't know how they're going to avoid that. Maybe give him a bigger base. That base, I'd like to see a little bit bigger, just for my comfort, right? I really worry, especially with how tall he is, that he would just kind of topple over. But I guess we'll see. Second, you can also buy the Tribe of These are like mutants with like horns and extra arms and a wolf mount. It includes, again, a full tribe of 11 miniatures plus the tribe deck and upgrade cards. I believe it's 6 upgrade cards, and of course the tribe deck is 8 cards. Many of the tribe cards are like poisonous, that's in kind of quotes, and can KO enemy units outright. So depending on it can be like, hey, if you successfully attacked, now they're KO'd at the end of the attack kind of thing. So essentially they deal with like poisons. Now, a small fact about me, I love wolves. So this shaman is an instant favorite. That being said, I'm disappointed to see another shaman be the female of the tribe. In this world, only the strongest and most ruthless and savage would survive. Can you imagine how awesome a female Varn would be? Varns, by the way, are the higher race that the princes belong to, and that's why they're larger. I don't care about a female-only tribe. That would be too much like Amazons, maybe, or something like that. Or at least it'd be like the equivalent of like an idea of Amazons. But a female prince, essentially a princess that leads a whole tribe, I can just imagine, especially with their artistry behind it, being completely savage. So that'd be really cool. I'd love to see that. I don't know if we will. I kind of doubt it, but it'd be cool. Additionally, for another $25, you can get an Artbook. Now, every Kickstarter pretty much offers this at this point, it seems. And that's fine. However, this is, hardcover, but 200 pages. It includes actual longer comics for each of the tribes. So we've seen the little kind of preview snippets. They are expanded upon in this one. So you kind of get some nice comic material from there, as well as all of the created art for the game. So if you see a piece of art in the game, it's going to be in there, as well as like kind of deep dives into various maybe objects and stuff like that. So maybe it'll dive into like the village or the huts or, something like that. Okay, so next section, unlocked stretch goals. What have we unlocked so far? All content has been unlocked to support up to 4 players playing at once. How this works is normal clashes still happen, but under certain conditions throughout the Chronicle, you can actually have 2v2, 2v1, or free-for-all. This combines both boards. The rules are still being worked out, so they can't share them yet, but apparently they still can't share the core rule set either, so perhaps an actual game will come later. I don't know. Playing these scenarios are optional, so you don't have to do the 2v2 or 2v1 or free-for-all ever. You could just do 2 sets of 1v1 and always have that. So that's kind of nice that it gives you the option, but it's not required. And also, just real quick, I want to pause and give them props for this. I'm not actually sure this was intended. So normally Cool Mini or Not has a very intentional idea of what they're going to release as far as stretch goals go. And this does seem to be different, which is why they're kind of having to create the rules here, even though they haven't released the main set either, just because before they were advertising it as just kind of this 1v1, and this 2v2 or 2v1 and free-for-all literally does kind of seem like it's based off of feedback, where people sometimes just want to have a bloodbath. And it seems they're even trying to be smart about it, and instead of having it be an alternate game mode, literally just trying to fit that into the core game, where under certain scenarios, you're just able to do this, where it makes sense on the map. And I think that's actually kind of cool, and I give them props for that. So, next stretch goal, all tokens have now been upgraded to plastic. The savagery tokens in particular are really cool. They've been transformed into actual sculpts of the skull being stabbed icon, which is really sweet. And also the resource token, and also the resource tokens, which is food, are now actually sculpted severed hands. Now they're working on how big these need to be. And note that if you're using the hands, or if you're using the skull token, they can no longer stack like the cardboard could. So they're going to take up a bit more space, but they look really cool. Additionally, we have unlocked the Umgor. That is a full tribe that has now been unlocked. 11 more miniatures everybody will get. Also, they look really cool. They have these shields, and the shields look amazing. Additionally, the prince's armor is super unique and looks amazing once painted. So if you look at this picture of the painted miniature, just the kind of design work that's on his armor is not seen anywhere else that I can tell. And again, with their shields and like a half face and all that, they look really neat. And also the warriors with the axe over their shoulder, it's one of the main warriors. One of my favorite sculpts design-wise of the entire game. And I can see it being used outside the game for many a D&D session. Additionally, we unlocked a new mercenary, Tundor the Shamed. Now, he's shamed because he ate his whole tribe. He used to be a prince, and he just went blind rage mode and just ate everybody around him. Now, if you choose to have him in your tribe, you're an idiot, but he's actually really cool. So you can spend savagery tokens to reactivate units, which is really huge and something that is kind of a wild card that your opponent might not be able to handle, because you could essentially just keep going with the same unit when normally you couldn't, and so it just adds a whole kind of wealth of tactical play there. But if he rolls double wilds, he instantly KOs the closest unit to him. In a case of a tie between an enemy and an ally, he's going to kill the ally. He's going to kill your unit. And I'm assuming by kill, I'm assuming he just eats them. I don't know. I'm going to imagine he eats them. So don't be close to him, which also means he'll kind of be off on his own more often than not, unless you're kind of a gambler, I guess. Additionally, we have another mercenary. This is the Maw, Horror from the Ashes. This is another very unique miniature, and the one I kind of mentioned in the Tribe of Sarrus, where it just looks so unique. And I mean, he looks awesome. He's got faces on faces, and they're all different things. Apparently some rogue shamans tried to keep him under control, and then he broke free and is now just wandering the wasteland. Now he is able to use savagery tokens to scare even hardened warriors out of his way. So in other words, he can actually move units away if he needs to clear a path, which might be just a valid use of them. But in combat, a wild results in a 3-hit. So if you're getting wilds, you're just killing people left and right. So that's also really cool. He's a monster. Okay, that's it for unlocked stretch goals. What about what's next? So we have the Kardu. These are kind of the new tribe that was just announced. It is the 6th core game tribe that'll be free for everybody. So you have 6 tribes within it. You don't need optional buys to play 6 people or have 6 different tribes to choose from, which is kind of cool. Before I thought it was just going to be the 4 and then they're going to add a bonus one and then you'd have to get another one with that optional buy because they only had 1. But we're going to have plenty of tribes by the looks of it by the end of this. And perhaps my personal favorite tribe from a gameplay perspective. They have many ways to gain and even steal savagery. And savagery manipulation sounds really appealing to me. And if it turns out that you can set up combos for like massive turns, that would be quite fun to pull off, especially if you like pair them with the Toondor, the Shamed Mercenary. So you can just keep reactivating units and you have all the savagery to use to do it. And that sounds really, really cool. I would love to like build up to have a really big turn. And additionally, there are not many more stretch goals shown. They just show kind of those 2, but it's safe to say we will see other units that they have already shown, such as this guy who likes skulls even more than most in Hate. I don't know how that's possible, but this dude has like his love for skulls on a creepy level, but he looks really cool. And there's some more. So in this kind of, we've seen this image for like forever on Board Game Geek, and there are still units we haven't seen. So we had already seen like the chick riding the wolf, that shaman. So we already knew that was coming. I'm kind of against them mixing up optional buys and stretch goals with the core game, like as if people thought you would get all of these for sure. And that's not necessarily the case. But regardless, there are some here that you can actually still see that look really interesting. For instance, there's a guy like right next to the tyrant with a huge axe, and he's got like these horns that go into a skull, and he's got like this really cool armor, like he's got this armored belly. That looks really cool. I want to see him, or whatever it is he's doing. We also have this like woman on the far right who's like arms up in the air with like kind of like a knife. I'm assuming she's probably going to be young blood. God forbid they make a female champion. Or any woman of power, it seems. It's more savagery than powerful, but either way, she looks like a really cool posed mini, like she's in full motion swing, which is really nice. And then you can see a little bit to the left of her, you can see this guy with like skulls all over him, and you can see him on one of the cards. So he is he's probably the shaman of the Kator, the new tribe that they're adding. So keep him in mind. I'm sure we will see him soon. And, I don't know, almost shame on them for showing it, too early, right? Because I've already seen it. Alright, so now it's time for some various updates, and then we'll go into an overview and we'll be done. So, the update for the Toondor, the Shamed Mercenary, snuck in another video with a bit more information. They mostly just kind of chatted about it and hyped up the game. However, there was at least one tidbit that I really liked. It showed that there is a deployment zone where you can freely place units for each scenario. So it kind of puts a grid where you can put units, and then you can strategically put them. So if, for instance, your opponent needs to get near a village, and he needs to get through all the villages, maybe you just pile all of your guys in near one if you can. Or maybe you fake it out and like, you put some guys on either side and split them up, but you're only going to ever activate like these like double and sweep in all to the right or something like that. It adds a lot more, tactical gameplay as opposed to all your units start here. So I kind of like that. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about the comic here. Now, I haven't read the comic, but I've looked enough at it to where I've gleaned a few things that I'm kind of interested in and I want to kind of share here. So there is a reptilian-like race in the comic that has a very unique armor set and kind of weapon usage. They just look really cool. They kind of got scales and a very unique style armor, very much more pretty, almost elf-like. As elf-like as you can get in the world of Hate, I feel, armor. I would expect to see these, but there'll probably be another optional buy, kind of like the Sassara, where they're just, because they're so unique and extra, I imagine we'll have to pay $25 for them. But man, they would look cool, and if they add them, I'm totally getting it. Also, they have various mounts that look fascinating in the comic. I mean, they got like these giant boar things, and I don't know if they're dinosaurs or I don't know what's going on, but they got these huge mounts that just look amazing. However, I'm unsure how this would work in the game that I've seen so far. So I don't know if we'll ever see that, but a man can dream. The total miniature count, including the promised tribe of Kardu, which we're unlocking right now, is 76 miniatures for the base pledge of $120. Now, I realize that it's almost petty to just count miniatures, but when it comes to a game like this, especially a skirmish game, a lot of it is that. So we can talk about tribe choice, right? And that's a big point too. It's really how many tribes you get, but that is signified, or how many mercenaries you get. But that is signified by the amount of miniatures you get, right? Each tribe is 11, so the more miniatures, the more tribes you have. So I'm just going to use miniatures as kind of an overall gauge here, but in no way am I saying that its value is only in miniatures. Otherwise, I wouldn't have also backed Nemesis. So you get 76 for $120. So you get 98 miniatures for the base pledge plus $50 for the 2 additional tribes that are currently available. So that's $170 for 98 miniatures. And you have to remember that a lot of these miniatures, all of the princes and a lot of the mercenaries are quite large. And so it goes from, kind of the 32 millimeter and then up. Now, I don't know how high. I suspect maybe 90, just trying to look. I know the Tyrant is larger than even the others, so I'm not quite sure there. Also, I'm sure there will be more mercenaries that will continue to be added. There's no doubt in my mind that they're going to keep doing the mercenaries. You can think of the mercenaries as like the roaming monsters of Massive Darkness, where you can just keep piling them on and keep adding them, and each one is kind of unique and different and a Kickstarter exclusive and all that kind of jazz. Also, a what you get image has been added so potential backers can easily see what they get for the money backed, as well as what is coming next without scrolling too much. So this, combined with the change in the stretch goal increments, in which case they've been shortened, they're essentially 10,000 each step. And so it used to be that you had to get like 30,000 more to get the next stretch goal, and they've really shortened that, along with rearranging some things and combining some things, like we just unlocked all the other tokens like all at once. And this really needs to be a big kudos and props to Cool Mini or Not for doing this. Normally they don't add a what you get for, $120 or whatever image until a little bit later in the campaign. So they added it early here, and I think that's fantastic. It shows that while they don't necessarily communicate like a lot of other game developers when it comes to actively answering questions and integrating your questions into updates and compiling comments and all that kind of stuff, and I'll get into that in the Nemesis one because they run their Kickstarter much differently. It's obvious it's still being read and still being heard and reacted to. Now, it's debatable on whether or not it should have been needed to be reacted to or whether it should have been foreseen up front. But Cool Mini or Not does run their Kickstarters in a certain way. They have for a while now, and I imagine they probably still will continue to. But they did have to do similar things for their A Song of Ice and Fire Kickstarter as well. So, perhaps there will be change in the future. I don't know, but either way, kudos to them for doing that. That's awesome. It's so easy now to see exactly where the campaign is, exactly what you're getting, and what's next. And that's awesome. So kudos to them. And really, guys, that's it. That's all I have. I say that's it. Like, that wasn't a whole lot, but that is some meaty updates. That is a huge change from when they first launched and had one additional little Spore Child mercenary and some cards unlocked for a future tribe. We now have 3 optional buys. We're up to like 7 tribes. 4, 6, 7, 8 tribes, right? I mean, we have really added a lot of content to this game already. So if you were on the fence and just thought maybe it wasn't a good enough deal, I would suggest looking, especially at these newer tribes like the Sassara or even the Gore that we unlocked with the shields. They're actually fairly unique, much more than the other ones were. And really just looking at perhaps a bit more of the game now that we kind of understand it. They have a great update on that kind of free-for-all where you can kind of see again how scenarios work and placement might work and different actions like that. But I don't know if we'll ever get a full, just a free-for-all standalone one that isn't part of a chronicle. But either way, lots of changes, and that was only in a week. I can't wait to find out what happens next week, but I'll be sure to let you guys know. So, subscribe if you haven't yet and you are interested in that update. I will be providing it. Give this a thumbs up if you enjoyed kind of this informative news update on the Hate Kickstarter as it runs. It does take a long time to kind of compile this and write a script out and tell you guys about it, and even insert some opinions and some shout outs as I feel is needed. But anyway, regardless, I appreciate it. Thanks for watching, and I will talk to you next time.